that was trash. That is trash that, despite what the movers saying, was packed by the movers when we PCS'd here. I had actually told them to leave that alone. It was in a pile in the middle of my garage floor where I had planned on getting rid of it. I was actually going to give it to somebody that needed to sell for scrap metal. Now it's in Hawaii. Whatever you do, when you are PCSing, which is what we're talking about in this video, make sure your stuff is organized. Make sure your stuff is clean. Because if they can find trash, they will throw it in with your stuff. Nobody wants to deal with the trash from their old home in their new home. As you may know, if you watched the first video, we PCS to Hawaii, where we are now at. Some of the things that you need to know, besides make sure there's no trash in your house. You watch other videos about PCSing, you'll hear the same thing. Make sure the trash is gone, or they will pack it. I literally caught one guy sweeping the floor, dumping it into the box. That's how bad it is. So make sure your stuff is organized and your trash is gone. Another thing I wanted to talk about, now that we've actually gone through it, experienced it, is what they call EFMP, Exceptional Family Members Program. This is for people that has disabilities, mental or physical. This program is designed to make sure where you're going has the ability to handle your family member. And when I say handle your family member, I mean their needs. Because if there's a physical or mental disability in your family, you want those needs taken care of. You don't want to go someplace where they cannot take care of those needs for you. Now, you would think the Army could do it no matter where they're at, but the fact is some duty stations probably will not be able to handle all things. We actually had an issue with this because of my past. I suffered a major depressive disorder. I fought through it. I struggled through it. I've learned to deal with it. You never really get over it, but you learn how to live with it if you want to. Or you can just sit back and collect disability and not worry about it and wallow in your own depression. It really is, in my experience, up to you. I still deal with depression, but I've learned ways to cope without taking the drugs. I don't like drugs. But with that said, not everybody's the same. You want to make sure you go through this program with an open mind, and if something does come up, don't freak out, don't stress out. Know that they're doing everything really in your best interest to make sure that they can take care of your family members if it's needed. Another thing to talk about is your personal, privately owned vehicle, POV. When you transfer overseas, even though Hawaii is part of the United States, it is still considered overseas because there's an ocean in between us and the mainland. When they tell you, make sure your vehicle is clean, they mean it. Make sure it's cleaned. Otherwise, you're going to clean it right there while you're trying to drop it off. When they tell you, make sure it has no more than a quarter tank of fuel, they mean it. Make sure it has no more than a quarter tank of fuel. If you got to stop every 50 miles and put in enough gas to go another 50 miles, do it. Because with us, I miscalculated. We were driving an SUV I figured it was a big enough gas hog I could put it in a half tank and drive it to the location, which was about 130 miles away. I was wrong. We got there. I still have a little bit over a quarter of a tank of fuel. Tried to siphon it. Could not siphon it. There was an anti-siphon valve in the way. Tried to run it out. Didn't have enough time. They were closing at 4:30, I believe it was, Eastern time. Could not get enough of it, ran out. Did not get to the garage that would pull gas out in time either. And even if I had of, it would have cost me $120 to have gas removed from my vehicle, probably put in a storage tank for them so they can use it in theirs. Pretty much a scam, if you ask me, but if you have to do it, you have to do it. So now my personally owned vehicle that I'm still making payments on is still in Tennessee. Think about that for a minute. I had to buy a vehicle once I got here. Do not have more than a quarter of a tank. Learn from my mistake. When you're PCSing, have plenty of money in the bank too. Depending on where you're going, it could be very expensive the first few weeks. When you get there, they may or may not have housing you can get into immediately. In our case, we stayed right at 2 weeks in a hotel. The cheapest one we could find, now location I'm not complaining about, was on Waikiki. If you know anything about Hawaii, you know that's major tourist attraction. Waikiki Beach, beautiful place, too many tourists. But we spent 2 weeks there. While we were there, my wife had to have one of her sergeants pick her up because, as I said, we didn't have a car, and take her to base so she could in-process. That left me and my 2 boys in the hotel. That hotel cost us, I forget exactly how much, somewhere around $170 a night for 2 weeks. Plus we had to eat. Now fortunately they gave us breakfast. It was a decent little breakfast. We had our choice of eggs, sausage, pancakes, waffles, bagels, standard stuff. But there is still lunch and dinner. If you haven't figured out, we're talking some considerable money. Fortunately, we had the cash. But if you don't have the cash, you're gonna struggle. It's not gonna be fun. If you're married and you have a family, they should be paying you. I'm not going to say should, but they are probably paying you your BAH, your basic allowance for housing, based on where you live. If you at all can, put that money aside. That's going to be what you live on when you move to your new duty station. Not all of you will be going to Hawaii. Some of you may be going further overseas, Germany, Austria, down under to Australia. Some of you may be staying in the States. But no matter where you go, it's going to take a little bit to get set up, a little bit to get into housing, and you need to have money to be prepared for that. Which gets me to my next subject, which I really hadn't planned on talking about, which is housing. We opted for base housing. We were under the impression that our BAH would pay everything, we would owe nothing out of pocket. Surprise. The first month we are here, the prorated amount of rent that was owed was $2,090. We had not yet received our Hawaii BAH. That's another expense that we had out of pocket. $2,090 is the prorated. Now, since we have been here, we've got now to get our Hawaii BAH. It covers it. But these are things you need to know when you're PCSing. Now, base housing in Hawaii, I have no complaints about. Matter of fact, I have 2 older children, both serve in the United States Army. They have said that the housing here is some of the nicest they've seen. My son is an E4 now, my daughter also an E4. And my daughter's married, my son is single. And they say the housing here is some of the nicest they've seen. So we really aren't complaining. There's a lot of pros and cons. We'll talk about this in a different video. When you get your housing as to where you have it, whether you're on base or off base. I can only speak for Hawaii though. But that, like I said, let's leave that for another video. I already past 10 minutes, don't want to make this too long. I hope some of what I've said will help you. I'll make another video talking about the expenses here and some of the positive and negatives of Hawaii. But for now, I thank you for watching the video. If you found it useful, like, subscribe. Also, know that this channel is going to evolve as time goes. I am going to start making videos every week. They may be the things that I do on the weekends with my family, some of the beaches we go to, some of the things that the military offers us that we can do. It may even include me working on cars, because I do that as a hobby. I rebuild cars. Got a video now that I need to download that shows one of the cars I've already bought here in Hawaii to rebuild. So it's going to be kind of a variety channel. If you don't like this one, stick around. Maybe you'll like another one. And maybe I'll get better at shooting them and the camera won't shake as much. But there again, if you liked it, hit like, subscribe, share if you know somebody else joining the military. And until the next time, you have a wonderful day.